Good morning. Today we're going to talk about what a difference a single day can make. How we can move from darkness into light. I hope that you find it, well, illuminating. I'm Aaric Eisenstein, the Avian Rebbe, and I teach Jewish wisdom seen in the beauty of birds. Today is the second day that I'm in the brush country. And I'm at the same park that I was yesterday. I'll put a link to the video that I made about it. But today is a completely different experience. Where yesterday was all about confinement and closure, today is about expanse and opportunity, what I can actually see. So we're going to wonder on this interrupted walk, and we're going to consider what darkness can really mean, and how in the right times, darkness can actually just disappear one day to the next. Stick around. All the way at the end, I'll have 2 action suggestions that you can use in your life to try to help dispel some of the darkness. It's worth sticking around. Ready? Great. Off to the trails.
Wow, what a difference a day makes. Yesterday, I was at this very same park, a slightly different part, but the very same park. And yesterday was all about confinement and constriction. There was fog, there was brush, there were all the things that in a physical sense make it difficult to have a sense of expanse. This is the brush country. I'll link to the video that I made about yesterday's experience here. But today is different. Today is about openness and spaciousness, about sight lines, about clarity, and even about open water. It's really an entirely different experience today. Going to this slightly different part of the park, but really about the difference that just a single day can make. In other words, when I woke up yesterday, I had one kind of day, and when I woke up today, there was a completely different opportunity. I think that's what these parks are about teaching. The difference that you can see day to day, season to season. There is something evolving, something changing. And there's lessons in this. Obviously, there is the lesson of attunement and observation and noticing. That's all very important and something that I want to deal with in the future. But today I'm reminded as I walk through the park, looking at this little pond, looking at this open field, that I see differently each day. And I'd like at some level to be able to say, no, that's not necessary. I always see the world as I would like it to be, or in the fullness of confidence, in the expectation that good will happen. And it's not the case. There are hard days, dark days. And what I come here for is to remind myself that those days pass, oftentimes literally the next morning. And certainly that is the situation today, a day of beautiful, beautiful light, warm illumination, the glory that you see reflected off the various birds, whether in the water, on the ground, or in the sky. It is a day of spectacular opportunity, of feeling that all is possible. And it's different than it was yesterday. That's what the difference is between one day and the next.
I hope you're finding this interrupted walk meaningful and resonant. These are tough topics, and I know that sometimes they can sit a little tenderly. So what I'd like you to do is stick around to the end of the video. We'll talk about some action suggestions that can help us deal with these kinds of situations for ourselves. If you would, hit the like button, maybe even subscribe to this series. And if you really want to have a sense of what it is that I do as the Avian Rebbe, there's a link down below in the description where you can subscribe to my free newsletter called Birdie Goodness. All right? Back out to the trails.
One of the more dramatic moments of the Passover story involves the 10 plagues. These were the punishments that God handed out to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for not allowing the Israelites to leave slavery. And they grew over time, 1 to 10. And there's a general sense of trend in these plagues, culminating in the death of the firstborn. Hard to think of anything worse than that. But one of the plagues that oftentimes people have trouble understanding as a plague is darkness. I mean, how bad could it be? Every single night we experience darkness. But this was different darkness. This was darkness that was so thick, so almost tangible, that it completely obliterated the ability to sense anything around you. It was very, very different than normal darkness. That's element 1. Element 2 is the way that the darkness existed. So think for a moment. At nightfall, darkness exists for all of us. It's part of the natural order. But this darkness afflicted only the Egyptians, not the Israelites. So if you're an Egyptian and you are utterly constrained, utterly locked into this darkness, you're feeling pretty terrible. And you're feeling especially terrible because the person next to you, an Israelite, is not so afflicted. That's one of the challenges of this kind of darkness, was the way that everyone who experienced it had to deal with it on their own. They weren't able to say, well, this is part of the natural order. On the contrary, the expectation, the feeling, the natural reaction to this plague would be that this darkness is directed towards me. Because, of course, they couldn't even see that somebody else was also afflicted with the darkness. This was a powerful and isolating plague, putting people in such a situation that they were utterly deprived of a sense of community, of a sense that there is support out there, that there is someone else to whom they can reach out. It's hard to fathom a plague so awful as that utter isolation. This was darkness of a different type than most of us ever will experience, thankfully. It is the kind of darkness that is truly a plague in the actual literal sense of the word. This is a darkness beyond what most people, even in their worst imaginations, will ever experience. An isolating, foreclosing darkness that left everyone utterly alone.
Okay, you're still with me. Good. I know this was a heavy one, really was. Was for me too. And as promised, I wanted to share with you 2 action suggestions that I find very helpful in dealing with these situations when I encounter darkness. Action suggestion number 1, remember that you're not alone. Arguably, that was the worst part of the 9th plague for the Egyptians, the sense of complete isolation, the inability to be part of a community. Well, fortunately, that's not the case. Take the action that you need. Reach out to people. You're surrounded by folks that want to help you, whether it's people you know, friends, family, colleagues, whether it's people that you have only a tangential relationship with, somebody at a school or at a church or synagogue or mosque or other institution. There are folks out there that want to help you. Let them. It's hard. Take the first step. Let them help you. Action suggestion number 2. One of the things that I encounter all the time is the fear that this is all new, that it's different than anything I've encountered before. And in fact, it's never different than everything I've encountered before. It's always the same. A different flavor, a different variety, yes, but it's always the same. Remember that. Write it down. Write down what it is that you're dealing with today And when you look at it on paper, tangibly in front of you, I dare say that you'll find that, yeah, I dealt with that 3 years ago, and this was something I confronted 5 years ago, and this may have even been yesterday's problem. But in the fullness of time, these things do get addressed. And so merely by remembering that these challenges that we face are both real, but also in our lived experience, we know that there's a way out to the other side. Remember that it's not new. That's going to take you a long way. All right? I hope so. Share. Reach out. Subscribers to my free newsletter, Birdie Goodness, also are going to get a third action suggestion that, again, I hope will help you dispel some of this darkness. We all can use a little bit of help. I'll close out, as I always do, by saying if you've enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. The newsletter is there. It is Birdie Goodness. It is illuminating. It is enriching. It provides a little joy and a little inspiration. I hope you find it meaningful. In the meantime, be grounded, fly high.